Hi, my name is Amanda Lloyd, and I just want to thank you for being here today. Today, we're going to be talking about some different laws that have come into place for special education. We're going to look at the history of it, what some of them currently are, what led up to where we are today in special education. We're talking about a couple different court cases that have held up some different law that comes with special education, and just finish off with some resources that will help you as parents and us as teachers to be able to make sure that we're doing the right thing as we're diving into this special education world and all the different laws that we need to know. So we'll start off with the history of special education. Before 1970, there were a couple of important dates that were key roles when it comes to special education. All the way backdated in 1893, the Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled on exclusion. Then in 1954, there was a case. It was Brown versus Board of Education, which was the first significant court case that was held for special education. The initial case was focused on segregation on the basis of race, but ultimately because of this case, they decided to take it further than just race, and they actually made it to where it didn't matter whether your gender, your race, or your disability. Any of those things could not be a deciding factor on whether you could have public education. You had a right to have a public education, and it could not be based on race, gender, or disability. So that was a big part of law that came into place for special education. Then in November of 1975 is when we really got a big win for special education. President Gerald Ford actually signed the Educational for All Handicapped Children Act, and today that is also known as Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which we know as IDEA. IDEA's basic principles are that all students with disabilities must have an IEP, free and appropriate public education, as well as having the least restrictive environment for those students. Then in 1982, the Board of Education of Hendricks-Hudson Central School District versus Rowley. All students that qualify for services must have access to public school programs that meet their educational needs and have services that enable students to benefit from instruction. And then IDEA 2004, which allows alternative models of learning such as response and intervention, RTI. IDEA 2004 wants an education to be provided that meets the students' needs by preparing them for further education, employment, and independent living. Secondly, to protect the rights of students and parents, which is so important for parents and teachers to have this information so that we know exactly what rights our students have and what teachers have, and that we are protected by these acts. The two court cases that I'm going to talk about today are the 1988 Hong versus Doe. The Supreme Court of the United States ruled that California School Board violated the Education for All Handicapped Children's Act. Students were suspended because of violent and disruptive behavior which was related to the student's disability. Basically, what I gathered from this is that students have a right to be at school. We have to make sure that we are finding ways to work with their disabilities, no matter what that disability is, even if that means that they are acting in a way that may be a little more difficult. We have to make sure that we are caring for them. And then in 2002, the United States versus Miami University upheld that newspaper Newspapers do not have unrestricted access to students' disciplinary records because these are educational records, which are protected under FERPA. Special education students have a right to privacy, and we have got to make sure that we are protecting that privacy. And then just some resources for parents, parentcenterhub.org, IDA website, and then for the state of Kansas, the Kansas State Department of Education. All three are great resources to find out and keep tabs on what the current laws are so that we can make sure that we are staying current and following all the laws that we need to. Thank you and have a great day.